house. Pardon?
I was just curious.
Yeah,
Oh,
wait.
did you?
I think I might have misunderstood. I didn't, because I was going to do a book talk today. I didn't do a part B.
I wasn't, when I wrote my paper, I wasn't
That's
going
okay,
to.
you don't do part B.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
gotcha.
so.
Okay, all right, so I didn't
So she did-
misunderstand?
No. so
She just did extra?
She did extra.
Okay.
Which I always take into account.
Yeah.
Extras never look negatively by anyone. Okay, so no, that was fabulous, so thanks for clarifying. Okay, picture books. Picture books. True or false? With a picture book, the art and the text are equally important. True or false? A true picture book, oh, don't look how we qualify that. A true picture book is one in which the pictures and words are equally important. All right, what do the pictures do? What do they purport to do in this true picture book? They're really, really vital. Establish the mood. I was clear with your book, the way Amy's book the other day, emotions and moods through certain colors, what Stephanie was talking about. But there's a key phrase here, and I will always like to use the actual phrases of Russell that describes the importance. So quotation, the artwork, because it is art, add layers of meaning to the text. Layers of meaning to the text. So the words alone are not going to capture what the artist, illustrator are attempting to convey. And it's been very interesting to me to observe as you turn in your reports those precious people who are so gifted and talented that they are the author and the illustrator. That is really remarkable. So in terms of judging a picture book, right there is some of the key criteria for judging a picture book and how effective they are. So what's the difference? What's the difference between a picture book and an illustrated book? You're thinking, Katie.
Picture book would be like for mine, like the picture like takes up the whole page and like it's really bright and like vibrant and there's only like there's still words, but it's not like it rather than like a huge summary like a bunch of sentences on each page. It's more a picture and then like a simple sentence or something.
Yeah. You know, I always think of textbooks.
Yeah.
They're illustrated, add many maps, pictures, captions. Certainly not what we're talking about when we describe this. Okay, when did they develop? Remember as we were talking about Mother Goose and nursery rhymes the other day and back to the 17th century? These true picture books with the true art do not appear until latter half of the 19th century. That would be the 1800s. So you have to think about the publishing and the ability of the publisher to create that artwork in a format that is true to the art. A number of you have wisely selected books that have been Caldecott winners. So you need to understand that that's the peak of the picture book world, and that award was named after Randolph Caldecott. Talented English artist. What's another word for saying English? English. Countries and where people are from. How about British? British. He's British. All right, so he's the first. Annual Caldecott Award is given by the American Library Association. But this is significant. That's for an American picture book. It's not for all the picture books published around the world, and we talked about how many children's books are published every single year. Significant year in this development, 1902. And a book that is true classic. I'll give you the author, and you see if you can write the name, the title of the book on your notes, Beatrix, and that's with an X, Beatrix, Beatrix Potter.
Yes.
You write the title of the book. What is the classic with its lovely watercolor illustrations that will literally live forever? Colleen thinks she's got to give them a moment, see who else can get it.
How do you spell her first name again?
Beatrix. Very unique spelling.
She's related to Bellatrix.
You think so? All right, Colleen, you said you knew.
Isn't it like Peter Rabbit or Peter Cottontail?
Peter Rabbit, Tale of Peter Rabbit, and Tale of Benjamin Bunny. There's a whole series of beautiful, and they're all uniquely little watercolor books that are only about 5 inches.
So
They're
tiny.
So in terms of children on your lap, you, mommy and daddy, examining those illustrations is so tiny and it just pulls you in. Beautiful, beautiful. Another significant title, and we're focusing on American picture books right now. Remember we had, Colleen, was it you with the guinea pig book the other day, and then the bunnies and the populations exploding? It reminded me of this book, Wanda Gag. And this is another true classic, 1928, and it's called Millions of Cats. Millions of Cats. And they were just black ink illustrations. But the way she captured that story was truly phenomenal. And it, like Peter Rabbit, is another classic.
Was it
28. 1928.
What's her name?
Wanda Gag.
Wanda Gag, unusual name. Who can recall from our discussion the other day the author-illustrator who won a bet? Dr. Seuss. Back again. Here he is, significant. This one's another significant in this category. It came about, he received a Newbery, another significant book award, not for illustrated picture books, Newberys for the text, 1937. And that was Theodore Geisel again, a.k.a. Dr. Seuss. And he published And to Think I Saw It on Mulberry Street.
What was the year one?
And to Think. Anybody remember that from all the Dr. Seuss books you read over time? And to Think I Saw It. And so picture book. And he always downplayed his ability as an artist. He said, I'm very poor, really. But he seemed to get the job done with what he did. And he followed that book in this picture book category with 60 more books. 60 more. Now, this is a significant point in time. So in the 1860s, this category, the publishers are finally able to capture the beauty of the art, and this whole genre of picture books begins to develop. And then along came World War II. Now, you wouldn't think that would be a great time for changes in the publishing world, and in a sense it wasn't. It wasn't that they were better able to depict the colors of this fantastic artwork in books, but there came about a great demand for more inexpensive picture books. And maybe you have some of these at home, because the publishers came to address the need with a whole series of books called the Golden Books.
Oh,
Yeah, the Golden Books. And some of those, even though by comparison they're not amazing works of art, they certainly met a need. Pardon?
They have that like golden bond.
Yeah, that little golden
binder.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've got some at home. Your parents grew up on the Golden Books. And that's one reason they have become so much more prolific now, that we have so many more. So they just became a staple. Mothers and fathers could finally afford to buy picture books for their children. This is for your parents. Now, a couple of them are really, really famous, a couple of the authors of the Golden Books. And somebody today did a Margaret Wise Brown book. Who was it? Emily, what was it?
The book I did?
Yes.
Count to 10 with a mouse.
Margaret Wise Brown, one of the most prolific, best authors. And another one, when all these golden books began, it's amazing that they became some of the most prolific authors, illustrators, Ruth Krauss. So when I tell you their books, they're still in print 70 years later. And that's remarkable because books go out of print pretty fast in this day and age. First book, I'm going to see if you can guess it. Mothers and fathers, read this little book at bedtime.
Good night, Moon. Good night.
Good night, Moon. That was the only hint you needed. That's Margaret Wise Brown, Good Night, Moon. That's another one of those books the other day I told you I buy for baby showers. Good Night, Moon, classic. And the other one, when you go to bookstores, you'll see this book often in a box with a little bunny.
Runaway Bunny.
The Runaway Bunny. That's Margaret Wise Brown. Now the other two, I don't think you'll know. Ruth Krauss, she's almost up there at the level of Margaret Wise Brown. But teachers use this one all the time, the carrot seed.
Wait, what is
Carrot seed. That's Ruth Krauss. Krauss is Krauss. Now, I want you to think back, something very significant happened in the Capitol today when the statue was unveiled for Rosa Parks. First African-American woman to have a statue in the Capitol. And of course, we all think back to that era of Martin Luther King, whose memorial in D.C. is truly, truly wonderful. That whole civil rights movement truly changed America. But here's a significant date that precedes most of the civil rights movement. The year was 1962. And I'll see if you can name the author whose book became a classic. It was the first major picture book that had an African-American character. And the book was The Snowy Day. Ezra Jack Keats. Kelly got it. Ezra Jack Keats. And then that's a real classic. And then following on the heels of that, as picture books develop, one that's truly significant. It was 1963, and the author is Maurice Sendak. What famous, all-time American classic has monsters in it? Where the Wild Things Are, 1963. So they talk about that one, exploring the psychology of a child's world. And some people really worried about that one because they thought that Max's behavior was really deplorable. Not everybody affirmed where the wild things are. But you know, it's still a hit, and we see it everywhere. Yeah, it's a movie. That's absolutely the case. It is a movie. So now you see there's just a dazzling, the book says, dazzling array of picture book formats and artistic styles. So here's what I have to tell you, save yourself time. Stephanie, you talked about the need for us to be more knowledgeable about art and teaching art and integrating it into our content areas. There's a whole section in this on composite techniques, photography, graphic techniques, painterly techniques, and they go on and on. What I'm telling you, put it in your notes, is you will have no questions. This is not an art class. That you will have no questions about composition, texture, line, space, all the elements of the picture book art. But you will have some other questions, so we better talk about this. All right, now this is extremely confusing. Picture book. So here we're talking about our genres, are we not? Mm-hmm. And if you read this carefully, page 120, this text says very clearly that a picture book is not a genre. If it's Not a genre. What's it doing in our genre portfolio? Well, they made it a whole chapter. So we're going to do it anyway. So what is it? If it's not a genre, what is the picture book? It is two things. It's a format, and that essentially, put an equal sign, that essentially is a book design. So it's a format. And this chapter also talks, and I'm going to see if you can, from your experience with young children in elementary schools, at approximately what I contend that picture books are for all ages. I love picture books. At what age, though, do children begin to move away from a sole picture book format into chapter books? You write down the grade level. When do you think, for the typically developing child in our elementary schools, at what grade level do they begin to move into chapter books? How many of you said first grade? How many of you said second grade? How many of you said third grade? And I'll give you what the text says. Actually, first and second is right. If you count easy readers like Frog and Toad, they have little chapters in them, even though they're easy readers. But it says here, most children have moved into chapter books by third grade. So if you say by third grade, we'll see that some are just emerging into that. And then what happens, and this is unfortunate, and we teachers have to counteract it, then they begin to think picture books are babyish. So we have to counteract that. They're not babyish. So since we're not doing the artistic and composition, the artistic elements, we do need to do the literary ones. So it has a little section here on the plot. So you read that, what the nature of a plot should be for a picture book. But I do think you need to see that format that publishers use. I have noticed that a number of you in your reports have identified the author or the illustrator was a teacher or a librarian. Am I right? Many teachers are publishing children's books. Well, since some of you may be those future authors, you better know that your book already has a predetermined number of pages that publishers are expecting when you send that manuscript to them. What will the number of pages be? Put down the number, see if you can get it. What? A picture book. About how many pages? Because that's the expectation. Make a guess, make a guess. I'd be delighted if anybody got it on the nose. Did anybody say a number higher than 10? Oh, you're correct. Did anybody say a number higher than 20? You are correct. Did anybody say a number higher than 30? You are correct. Let's see what you said.
I said 37.
37.
32.
32. Sean? 35. I saw another hand. Actually, it's 32. 32. Think about the composition of those books as they come together. So that is the most typical. It's not to say there's never any that are another, but 32. Okay, some of the characteristics, simplicity. And you've been telling me about it over and over. Bold primary colors. You've been saying vibrant colors as you've described yours. Characters. The characterization, usually the best way to describe it is they're childlike. These are characters that children can relate to. They see them like themselves. As a matter of fact, one of the ways that we judge which picture book for which age is we try to think these characters, what age child is that character most like? And that would be the age that we would tend to target that book. Now, Colleen, you did 32 pages. Let's see if you can get the next quiz. Okay, we know 32 pages, the average. How many words? How many words? Picture books don't have, lengthy text. So you write a number and let's see how close you get to the average number of words in a picture book format. Write a number. Come on, Brooke, pick up the pen. It doesn't take that long to think about a number. Average number. How many said 500?
Oh, wait, is this for the whole book or?
For the whole book.
Oh.
Average number, words for the whole book. Brooke's the only one that said 500. Did anybody else say more than 500? Okay. Anybody say more than 1,000 words? Typical picture book? What'd you say?
About 2,000?
Actually, that's right, 2,000. That's the average. 32 pages, that sounds like an awful lot of words when you think about it. And the thing about this is those words must be very, very carefully chosen because you're so limited. A simple format, childlike, and oftentimes, and that's one of the things I want to encourage you to do when you're doing your read-alouds, interactive read-alouds, use the refrain. Many books have a refrain in them, and that's what you teach the children, and then you use it when you're reading aloud.
Now, is that 2,032 pages long? Those are both like averages?
Average. Now, so the typical is 32 pages, most of them are, but this is the average, 2,000. And now virtually any topic can be in a picture book. Virtually any. So the next section then is on elements of picture book art, and you don't need to go there. So about, I'm thinking it was like, I'm guessing maybe 10 to 12 questions on the concept book, alphabet book, numeracy, and then on picture books too. This whole, now we can't call it genre, but this whole book design format is really enormous and critical to our work. All right, so we're going to briefly go around the room, and I will start my list for those people who are going to do specials. They're going to give us a one-sentence. We'll go back the middle section, and then Christina will come down your section.